Nigeria as a country is usually faced with a major problem of confronting the high level of inequality and marginalization across the 6 geopolitical zones.
It is in this regard that the federal government of Nigeria established the Federal Character Commission and the principle as a policy measure to check the problem of inequality and marginalization that has led to the lopsidedness in the country.
Unfortunately, it appears that the framework pursues a quasi-quota approach to selection rather than engaging all and sundry.
Joining us now to discuss the federal government's federal character distribution in relation to the various arms of government in Nigeria and public offices is Penela AKINTUJOYE, a legal practitioner. But first, let's see this report.
In most federal system of government, the major issue is usually that of resources, where the sharing arrangements of resources, which includes human capital, is working well. There are less agitations and citizens have a feeling of belonging and equity. On the other hand, where the quota system is not working well, the citizens agitate and make all sorts of demands. In order to foster national unity and give every Nigerian a sense of belonging in the country, the Constitutional Drafting Committee of 1975 established Federal Character Commission as a body charged with the responsibility of implementing the federal character principle in order to ensure equitable sharing of posts in the public services. Since Nigeria returned to democratic rule in 1999, managing the complexity of the country's ethnic groups through a fairly distribution of political positions have become a growing trend which aligns with the federal character objectives. Presently in Nigeria, the various arms of the federal government have not displayed the use of federal character and quota system in its political leadership positions. However, the most affected geopolitical zone is the southeast of the country. Thus, the question of how effective is the federal character distribution continues to beg for an answer.
Penela AKINTUJOYE joins us now in the studio, legal practitioner. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Well, you had that report and we all know what's going on in the country, but let me ask you, how well do you think that successive governments have, implemented or been guided by the principle of federal character as enshrined in the Constitution, Section 14, subsection 3, if I'm correct?
Yeah.
How well do you think we have fared?
Thank you so much. Well, I think that successive government has not fared well as far as complying with the federal character principle is concerned. Oftentimes, every government comes with its own parochial agenda, bring people from their own little space and ethnic group in utmost disregard for this principle. And I think that at the base of this problem is the fact that as a nation, we have not yet come to appreciate the import of this federal character principle. The first time this came into the Constitution of Nigeria was the 1979 Constitution, which was a few years after the Civil War, at a time wherein the nation actually was completely polarized, and there was a need to engender national unity and command national loyalty. We must recognize that largely Nigeria as it stands today, like Chief Obafemi Awolowo once said, that Nigeria is not a nation. It's simply a mere geographical expression. It's indeed a contraption of several nations that are still struggling to reach the state of nationhood. And that is why this concept of federal character becomes very, very important. I've seen a lot of people who have expressed the fact that they don't agree with the principle. It seems to put merit aside, and it seems to put the aspect of where you come from over merit. But my response to them each time is that you must recognize that we have not yet gotten to that level in our national journey. To a large extent, we are still talking about a multi-ethnic, multi-religious, and a lot of nations that are struggling to come together. By the time we have been able to achieve coming together and we have a sense of nationhood, like the United States of America is more diverse than we are in Nigeria, but there's that sense of nationhood. Nigeria does not have that sense of nationhood. We do not have a uniting national philosophy. This was something that during the presidential campaign of Professor Kingsley Moghalu, he said this a lot, that there is no national philosophy that unites everybody together. And so that is the first thing that we need to appreciate. If we do not respect this federal character principle, like successive governments have not done, they have not respected it, it has a lot of debilitating consequences. Even for the economy. The other time, during the first term of President Buhari, we saw the Niger Delta Avengers rising up because of a sense of marginalization, and that had serious economic consequences for our nation. It has security implications. It has a lot of security implications. As we speak today, Nigeria is sitting on a gunpowder. There is tension, palpable tension all across the polity, because there is that sense of marginalization, which the current regime has not ebbed.
Okay,
Unfortunately...
just to come in here. There's an Italian elder statesman, Maximilio Azeglio, said something. He said, "We have built Italy. Now it's time to build Italians." Obafemi Awolowo, that you quoted too, did say that word a lot. We built Nigeria. It's a geographical expression. Now it's time to build Nigerians. I mean, the offshoot of the federal character talk is because we have not built Nigerians. How can we build Nigerians truly? Because once we can build Nigerians, we'll forget federal character, as it were.
Okay, now, first, we must still admit, despite that wonderful quote that you just gave now, we must still admit that if there's going to be a union of people, the union must be consensual. And the consent has to be progressive. It's just like, the way I like to describe it, it's just like a marriage, a man and a wife. The yes that the woman gives to you at the altar is not sufficient to run the union throughout its lifespan. You must constantly ensure that all the parties in the marriage, their interests are continually accommodated, or else that union will lose its essence. And that's why people have said yes to themselves before and still headed for divorce. So it's important that, first of all, this cloud of ownership that some sections of the country have, and which has not been...
What sections of the country have?
Oh, well...
because in this administration, we take, for instance, the Southeast is not well represented.
That's true.
And in the spirit of federal character.
Yes. We have
even
seen...
the Southwest too. It's like sixpence none the richer.
Oh, yes, it's true. The truth of the matter is that since President Buhari came to power, there has been a modernization of all the key appointments, so to speak, with all respect. But unfortunately, that's the reality we have. Even though when he came, he made a very interesting statement, "I belong to everybody, I belong to nobody." But we know better now that that's just mere rhetoric, because all the appointments, even the body language of the president. There was a time that we had an uprising in the Southeast, the IPOB, and, we were quick to send the military to crack down on them. The Attorney General was quick to go to court and get the court to declare this organization as a terrorist organization. Another group, the X-Men, who are actually more terrorists in their tendencies, and from all that we have seen them display up till today, the regime has not agreed to name that a terrorist organization. And all the war crimes, the mindless, the brutalities that this organization has carried out, despite all of that, you can see the body language of the federal government. So I'm clearly saying that before we can, you see, it's good that we talk about how can we build Nigeria, can we build Nigerians, how can we engender a sense of national loyalty, a sense of belonging by everybody. But I'm saying that there cannot be that kind of sense if we don't address the social injustice.
Okay, and so let me ask you, because despite criticisms of lopsidedness in his appointment in his first term, President Muhammadu Buhari said, he stuck to loyalty, people who he was comfortable working with. He said competence and merit were strong factors in deciding his cabinet and his appointment. As we await the announcement of his cabinet this time around, do you see the president sticking to his guns?
Now, for me, I even think that the appointment of the cabinet is not what would demonstrate that the president is a federal president.
What would
now, because the reason is that the appointment of the minister he, by the constitution, is compelled to appoint a minister from each of the states at least. Now, it is where there is no such restriction that the president can demonstrate a character of being a federal president. Now, we have seen appointment of the SGF. We have seen the appointment of the chief of staff. Now, according to the appointment of the SGF and the chief of staff is under section 171 of the Constitution. And in that section, sub 5 of section 171 states that in the exercise of this power of appointment, the president will take into consideration the principle of federal character. The president is from the north, the vice president is from the southwest.
One thing is certain,
why shouldn't the SGF accommodate the other regions?
We'll definitely talk to you very soon. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much for being here.
It's a
we'd like to appreciate you. That's our show for you today. That brings us to the end of the show. I'm Rafai Osini.
I am Adeso Omoron. Goodbye.